Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, the draft, night one in the books. It had some twists. It had some turns. All right, let's get into it, man. All right, let's start with the pick. They trade. It's the one thing that I think I was really off base on in this, that Philly and Dallas and New York wouldn't play in the sandbox together, and yet Philly and Dallas make the trade. Why did it happen?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, I got to pat myself on the back here because I did say the Eagles were going to trade up, and that was who they were going to take. I didn't think they were going to trade with the Dallas Cowboys to do it. But as soon as Denver picked Surtain, Surtain. Sorry, for some reason I thought they picked Horn. I'm like, wait a minute, no, they picked Surtain. So as soon as Denver picked him, I'm like, all right, this is it. The Eagles are going to do it. And they had to do it because the Giants wanted Devonta Smith. This was the only choice for them. And when I was talking to my colleague, Patrick Walker, who covers the Cowboys for CBS Sports, he was telling me that Dallas was actually kind of thinking of moving down because they thought they could get Parsons later in the draft at 12. But they said, you know what, we're here, let's get him. And that's how the deal came into fruition. And, the Eagles are happy they got Devonta Smith. The Cowboys are happy they got Micah Parsons because there was no reason for them to get him at 10. And the Giants ultimately were the big loser in this because they couldn't get the guy they wanted. So, yeah, they got a future first-round pick from the Chicago Bears who traded up and got Justin Fields, who, in my opinion, maybe the Giants should have gotten because he's better than Daniel Jones anyway.
Right. I see. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Let's start here. I was very intrigued. We talked about this. If the Eagles stayed at 12, could they have made the trade with the Bears?
That's the thing. It's if they stayed at 12, and we're going to assume the Giants took Devonta Smith, I think they would make the trade. I think they would have traded down.
Right. So they would have got a fourth first-round pick and then picked at 20, and then they could have been in the Kwity Paye, Kadarius Toney, Newsome, Caleb Farley. They could have been in that business.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Kwity Paye might have been the pick at 20 for them because he went to the Colts, I think, of 21. I think that's where the Colts ultimately picked. So Kwity Paye went down a lot farther than I thought he was going to. But I just think that explained the lack of defensive line talent in this draft because if you notice, Mike, it was really weird. I thought for sure 5 quarterbacks were going to go in the top 9, and it just didn't happen. Carolina, I just think they decided, hey, look, we're going to take a cornerback here because we need one.
That was a little bit of a curveball, though, right? Them taking a corner.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at it. After they drafted J.C. Horn, I'm like, oh boy, that now the Eagles might be able to get one of these skill position guys. I wasn't shocked the Dolphins drafted Jalen Waddle after Cincinnati took Chase. I thought it was going to be between Waddle or Smith, and I was kind of relieved they took Waddle. I'm like, all right, this is starting to happen. This is starting to come into fruition here. The Eagles were going to trade up and get their guy, and I thought Detroit maybe would trade down, but you know what? The way I looked at it, Detroit needed an offensive line the worst way. You can't pass up on Penei Sewell, and Brad Holmes said that last night. There was just no way we were going to do that. So that made a lot of sense. But then, once you got past Denver, I thought for sure Denver was going to take Justin Fields at 9, and they didn't. And I don't blame them for taking Surtain because they needed a cornerback too. So now we're like, okay, when are these guys going to go? And this draft is going to get really crazy. And I'm like, wait, could the Eagles actually get Justin Fields at 12? It looked like that was going to be the case.
You know what? My phone was blowing up at that moment, Jeff. And my roommate from college said, the Eagles made a trade. What are they doing? And I responded, I think they're taking Fields. And I was like, oh, my God, please don't do this. I know you like Fields, and I know you would have taken him. I got to give Hurts a chance to play. You know why?
Exactly. And that's how I looked at it. It's like, look, and when I talked to Devonta Smith Wednesday, he was pretty convinced the Eagles were going to trade up and get him. And it looked like that's pretty much what they told him.
What convinced you that Smith was convinced the Eagles were going to make a move to get him?
Just when I talked to him about the Eagles, and he said, it's a great organization. I really would like the chance to be reunited with Jalen Hurts again. And just pretty much just those basic conversations, with him. It's like, okay, this guy's a little too excited to be playing with Jalen Hurts again. It's like, did the Eagles tell this guy something like, hey, look, we want you, and we're going to make sure we get you? And it seemed like that was the case. And I think really it was more of, okay, where's Jamar Chase going to go? Where's Kyle Pitts going to go? Where's Jalen Waddle going to go? I think the Eagles were completely fine with Jalen Waddle, but I think Devonta Smith was the guy they wanted.
I agree with that 100%. And two things. One, the Eagles caught a big break PR-wise, nightmare of Chase going 6. He wasn't on the board at 6. Neither was Pitts. So them getting out of the 6th spot proved to be the right move. And
Howie Roseman was right, and that's what I've been trying to tell people. Like, the Eagles knew the Bengals were going to do this. Joe Burrow was pushing for this. Like, this is what I got so upset over when the Eagles fans were mad. I'm like, guys, they're not going to get Jamar Chase at 6. It's not going to happen. Cincinnati's going to take him. No, they're going to take a lineman. No, they're not. They're not going to take a lineman.
We talked about it all week, Jeff. The Bengals were going to Bengal this up. They should have taken Penei.
They were going to Bengal this up, and
right?
they did.
They did. When I could not believe it, when they made that pick, I almost drove off the side of the road and said, they are the dumbest franchise ever. I can't believe it.
I do one mock draft a year, Mike, and I did it at the beginning of the month. And I said to myself, I should just take Jamar Chase to the Bengals at 5 because they're going to do this. And I said, no, I am going to do what teams need and what they should do, not what they're going to do. And that's why, and somehow I got a lot of mock draft picks right doing it that way. But the Cincinnati Bengals were one. I should have said, you know what? They're going to get Jamar Chase.
I had no doubt in my mind, and neither did Howie Roseman. So the Eagles make the right decision there. The report the day of the trade, when the Eagles moved from 6 to 12, was that Roseman got wind that the Bengals were going to take Chase. That's who they wanted. So they said, we're not going to get him. We'll get out of that pick. If they don't get that information, who knows? They probably stay at that pick.
Yeah, they knew it. And, it was funny, Mike.
And that tells me, Jeff, real quick, that tells me that they liked Smith more than they liked Waddle.
Yeah, that's exactly what's up. But I remember that day very vividly because I was working like a maniac, here pretty much over Jamar Chase going to the Bengals because that seemed to be a thing. And I'm like, oh, wait, what's going to happen now with the Eagles? Because they might not get Kyle Pitts. They might not get Jamar Chase. I think they initially wanted one of them. And they're like, you know what? Let's do it. And then the 49ers trade happened. And then the Dolphins trade happened again with the Eagles. And I'm like, everybody was so upset over this. I'm like, guys, you don't get it. The Eagles got a first-round pick. This is what the Eagles did, ultimately. They got Devonta Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, probably the second-best wide receiver in this draft, who's going to be a stud in this league. I don't care. He's going to be a stud. And a 2022 first-round pick for what? The 12th pick and the 84th pick? Sign me up.
Absolutely.
Any day of the week.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, covers the NFL. Tell us about Smith. I was having a text conversation last night and this morning with a buddy of mine. He doesn't think Smith's, all that good. I mean, and he said the combination.
How does he determine that? Did he not watch college football?
I'll give probably not, but I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know if he's a big college football fan. But the combination of Smith and Rieger, like one isn't the number one. They're both just kind of secondary. I said, you don't know enough about Smith then, dude.
Devonta, college football, it's kind of ironic I should say this because he's college football's best receiver since Jamar Chase, but him and Jamar Chase literally just shattered pretty much any record ever set. Like, if it wasn't for Joe Burrow,
let me ask you this. If Waddle's there, Smith's numbers aren't as eye-popping as they are.
No, they're not. Like, Devonta Smith went off when Jalen Waddle got hurt. Jalen Waddle was the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And then, Devonta Smith was really good, though, the year before. He's been good since Jalen Hurts has been there.
Well, that's the thing, Jeff. In the game, the biggest game, when they had Ruggs and Judy, who'd they go to in the biggest moment of that game?
Devonta Smith. He was a freak in the national championship game. I'll tell you what, this is how good this Alabama wide receiver core was. Devonta Smith as a freshman was getting on the field with Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, and Jalen Waddle. He was finding ways to get on the football field. But that Alabama team was loaded. I don't know if you watched the Mississippi game, the Mississippi State game from 2017. Like, I was big in I'm not an Alabama football fan, but for my job, you have to watch the Alabama Crimson Tide every week. And that's what I did. And I knew with Devonta Smith for a long time, but I was shocked when Jalen Hurts went to Devonta Smith to win that football game with under 30 seconds to play. I'm like, wait a minute, all these players on the field, and he goes underneath to this guy, and I wasn't sure which cornerback it was. He's in the NFL. But I was like, wait a minute. Devonta Smith just did that, a true freshman. That was his first catch of the game. He played like 10 snaps the entire game. Right. This guy's going to be a stud. And
well, he led the nation. This is where, to me, he is a dual threat in a multiple layers. To me, he's a taller, more polished version, just a better flat-out wide receiver like a Deshaun. People talk about his size. Deshaun Jackson's 5'10", 175 pounds. I mean, he's tiny.
He's Marvin Harrison more.
Well, that's who I brought.
That's what he is.
That's who I bring him up to. But, like, think about Deshaun Jackson. It's 5'10", 175. When Deshaun Jackson is healthy, he's unstoppable. He goes down the field, and this guy is a way better route runner, way better hands, way better ability to catch the ball in traffic than Deshaun Jackson. Led the nation in screen yardage, so does something behind the line of scrimmage, down the field. And you know what's really impressive? When you heard Sirianni talk about X receivers and their ability to get off the line, Smith has upper body strength to get your hands off of him and get the separation and get himself movement. 4.3 speed. I mean, to me, he's just a big – you mentioned Marvin Harrison, which I think is a great – that's kind of what I said. I said he reminds me a lot of Marvin Harrison. But here locally, he's a 6'1", way more polished version of what Jackson was. And Jackson was a hell of a player when he was at his best.
When your one weakness of this guy is he's 166 pounds, you got nothing. You are looking for any reason to not pick this guy at that point. I'm still kind of shocked he made it past 8. I really am, because he's that much of a difference maker. And I know Carolina didn't need him. I know Denver didn't need him. I thought the Detroit Lions would take, and I don't blame the Detroit Lions for not taking him.
No, you know what?
The
Detroit Lions, Jeff Kerr, put their big boy pants on. They finally put their big boy pants on.
And I love it. I love what they're doing in Detroit, by the way. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell.
That is the graduation from, hey, we got to impress the fans, to saying the boring pick is the right pick for a team like Detroit right now.
And I will say this, talking to people in the state of Michigan, they are very, very happy today. That it is something different for. And you know what? I am so glad in this area, Howie Roseman finally picked the best available player. Didn't try to outsmart anybody. We're going to trade up, and we are going to get this guy. And I was convinced when Devonta Smith basically told me that they are going to trade up and they are going to get me. And I'm like, good. You know, I was all on board then.
Right. And look, Howie Roseman last night said it. We stayed true to our board and indicated that's not something they've done in the past. And he indicated today, look, we need a corner, but we're still going to take the best guy. So if they don't get a corner in round 2 tonight, that could be something. We'll get into that coming up in the next segment here about what's going on tonight. But I want to, you look at Smith, to me, he is – that allows Rieger now to be the second guy. You don't need Rieger to be the number one guy. You draft a guy in the first round last year. Your mindset as a fan is he's got to be a number one wide receiver. The problem is Rieger's not a number one wide receiver. This guy's a number one wide receiver, and now they have guys who complement each other.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Jalen Reagor looks really, really good in this offense. And look, I know people get so upset about, they took another receiver early, and he's just covering up his mistakes. No, you're not covering up any mistake. You're getting a stud. You're getting the best player in college football last year. That's what you're getting. I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Howie Roseman hate right now.
Yeah, that's the difference. Is they said this guy was simply too good to pass up. And we know New York will take him. We cannot deal with this guy against us twice a year. We're going to get him ourselves. You know why? Because we made a move earlier in the month that allows us to make this move to get that and prevent. And the Giants, you saw, immediately got right out of that spot. Absolutely. I thought, again, I can't understand how people don't. I'm just flabbergasted.
It's so nice that it happened to somebody else, and it didn't happen to the Eagles. Last year, the Eagles wanted CeeDee Lamb, but they didn't trade up and get him. And they should have did it last year and jumped the Cowboys. And again, this is the maturation of Howie Roseman. It took him 10 years, but he finally has learned.
Hey, what did we find?
They get the guy I want. I got to trade something.
We found out from the last time when he got thrown down the hallway that he learned from his mistakes, built a Super Bowl team, started to fall back into some bad habits. Maybe he's learned from them, and maybe this second time around again. We'll see. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports covers the NFL writer from CBS Sports is here. All right, we got first-round coverage for you there. Give me a couple teams you liked, a couple teams you're still scratching your head on before we take a look ahead to tonight's round number 2 and 3.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens finally got Lamar Jackson something. Rashad Bateman. I really like that pick for them at number 27. Then I actually liked Jason Owe at 31. I know I'm a Penn State guy, but still, Jason Owe is going to fit really well in that defense. Baltimore had those 2 late first-round picks. I really did like the Rashad Bateman one, though. He just fell right into their lap at 27. That was a big pick for them. The Cowboys didn't need a linebacker, but again, you don't pass up on Micah Parsons. You just don't. So that was a good pick for them. A couple ones. I was a little head scratch with the Raiders pick. I just like the Raiders needed a lineman. I didn't think that was the guy they were going to go with. The Jets getting Elijah Vera Tucker. I like to protect Zach Wilson. That's a good pick. 49ers, Trey Lance. No, Justin Fields should have went third. I don't get it. Falcons, I really like. Kyle Pitts at 4.
Quick ones from me. I didn't like Washington's pick at 19. They went with the Davis, the inside linebacker. They had the second best defense in the league. They needed a playmaker.
They needed a receiver.
Right. They needed something there. They should have traded back. They were at 19. They were in a tough spot. I don't think they wanted to reach on the wideout. I thought they reached on the linebacker on a defense that was already the second best in football last year, so I didn't like what they did. You mentioned, I thought Collins went a little high to Arizona there. I thought they needed a corner. They were at 16, so a tough spot to get a corner.
It's big for them, though, ultimately, because they're going to pair him with Isaiah Simmons. They do need defensive help. So
they did. I thought they needed more corner help than they needed taking Zaven Collins there. So that was one. Obviously, the Bengals, I thought that was awful. That was the worst pick of the night, them going with obviously Chase is going to be a great player for them, but the quarterback's going to get killed back there. So I hated that.
He's already recovering from an injury.
Right. Exactly. Last night, Mike Tannenbaum on the radio broadcast said, when I was with the Jets, in a 7-snap play, in 7 plays, we lost Pennington and Jay Fiedler within 7 snaps. He said, next year, I didn't care if John Elway was the first pick in that draft. We were taking a lineman. They took DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold in the first round that year. And it was
the basis pretty well for them with Nick Mangold.
Right. It was the basis of them making the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row. I mean, they had a really good offensive line. And that shows you that if you have a really good offensive line, you can get to that spot with Mark Sanchez. So the line matters. I know people don't like to hear it. All right. 37. Let's talk second round tonight. Very interesting tonight. Some good players still on the board. Obviously, there always is. But I think tonight there's guys that we thought were going to go in round 1, and the Eagles are way up at the top there. So give me a couple guys you have your eye on tonight at 37.
I can never pronounce his name, but the linebacker for Notre Dame, Jeremiah. I can never pronounce his last name. He's like Kwity Paye. I can never pronounce his last name.
You did good on Kwity Paye right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so maybe because I'm getting used to saying Kwity Paye.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
I call him JOK.
So everybody's calling him JOK.
Yeah, that's what I call him. And he's more than okay. He's a really good lineman.
He's a hybrid, though.
To the Raiders.
Hybrid guy, 6'1", 215, kind of safety, kind of linebacker-ish,
He's perfect for the Eagles.
Oh, they like that kind of linebacker. Anyway.
I wouldn't mind that. I think he's going to be one of the first people off the board, though.
All right. Asante Samuel Jr., any interest?
Yes, absolutely. Signing me up. If he has any play like his dad, the swag like his dad, which he does, I'm all for it. Undersized, but he can play the outside.
What about Barrymore? At 37, if you took Christian Barrymore.
I'll tell you what, here's the thing. Remember we were talking about the Eagles getting him at 12? You can get him at 37. You need depth at defensive tackle. Why not? Look, Hassan Ridgeway gets hurt a lot. I know he's a very good number 3 defensive tackle, but you really don't have anything outside of Cox and Hargrave. You let go Malik Jackson. He's with the Cleveland Browns now. Why not? That's a good pick at 30. That's a great pick at 37.
All right, Trevor Merrick, you got a guy who's the best safety on the board. If he's there at 37?
I would take him. He's another one. I thought he'd go in the first round. I had him going in the late 20s, and they didn't take him. Again, kind of shocked he's still there, but it's just the way the board play. But this is what happens when the Green Bay Packers take Eric Gaines, which I didn't get. That was another one. I did not get that first round pick at all, and I like Eric Gaines.
I agree. Tyson Campbell, Georgia, Aziz Olajari.
Give me Aziz Olajari. I'll take him too. There are going to be some linebackers the Eagles get at 37.
Yeah, 37. Olajari is more of an edge guy. Campbell's a corner. I actually like Campbell better than I like Stokes, who went at 29 to Jacksonville. Elijah Moore, if you want to get another speed guy at wide receiver, he'll be available likely. Nick Bolton, the linebacker from Missouri. He's another interesting name.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they're not going to draft a wide receiver, but there are a couple decent wide receivers on this
Oh,
board.
yeah.
If they fall 37 and
if
the team trades up, the Eagles could trade back and get a lot more draft cap.
Off of what Roseman said last night, I wouldn't be – he said, we're going to take the best guys. We know if we don't get back in the first round that we're going to be sitting there Friday morning, and we know we're going to get a really good player. Maybe it's at a position that can come in right away and fill need, but maybe it's just a guy that we know is going to be part of the core of our team going forward as we climb the mountain again. So Adam Kaplan was on our show last week and said, keep in mind, the draft is not about the current season. It's about seasons down the road. So
exactly.
That's why you take the best player at 37. If it happens to be a wide receiver, you just take him.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, if Elijah Moore's still on the board, right? Like,
yes.
I didn't miss that last night.
No, that's what I'm saying.
At the end. He's still on the board.
Yes.
I would take him at 37.
Right.
I wouldn't even hesitate. You got him, Rager, Smith. You're set. I don't care. I mean, look, this year is pretty much a wash anyway. Let's see what Jalen Hurts got. He's got all these weapons. We're good to go. I mean, quite honestly, I would take him again. I think they're going to have a really tough decision at 37 because there are going to be players on their board they like, and like I'm not, like I said, after round 2, I'm not exactly the greatest draft evaluator in the world, but there are about 30 guys right now I could see the Eagles taking with this 37 pick. And I don't think I'd be upset with either of them.
And keep in mind, the third-round pick that they traded was not number 70. It was 84. So they held on.
Even better. Right? That was the Colts pick.
Yes, they held on to the better of the 2 third-round picks with Dallas. They gave Dallas 84. They kept 70. So they'll have tonight 37 and 70 in the draft. So that was another underrated part of, hey, you gave up a third-round pick. Well, we had 2 third-round picks, but you gave up the second of the 2. That was another solid move.
You know what, Mike? It makes my night easier because after 70, I'm pretty much good to go the rest of the night.
You never know. They got all those. They got 11 picks. So they got 10 left.
They're going to trade. I think they get another third-round pick tonight. I really do. I think they're going to find a way to do that.
Well, they have the 3-6. They have the 3 6s, a 4 or 5, 3 6s, and then multiple 7s. So I don't know. Do they give up something in next year's draft plus a 6 or something this year to move up a couple spots in the third? I wouldn't be surprised if they found another, a way to move up to target a guy that they really want tonight. You got the second and the third round. There's a guy they really like between 37 and 70 that they find a way to get themselves between 70 and 37 to get another player in there.
Yeah, this was the big thing when they made the trade, and I pointed this out. Everybody was talking about from 6 to 12. I'm like, what about 84 to, what was it, 150 between picks? And they ended up getting, I forget the actual number of the 4th round pick, but it's like 123. I think that's what it is. That's a big difference. You're basically going, instead of 70 picks, now you bounce it out in the 30s there, and now you got that 4th round pick as collateral.
All right, there we go. Just a look at tonight. Went fast. Coming up, the NFL Draft, round 2 and 3 tonight. Coverage starts at 6 on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff Kerr, follow him at Jeff Kerr for more NFL and draft coverage and all off season long at Jeff Kerr CBS on Twitter. All right, Jeff, he'll be back on Monday to recap the whole shebang here on the Sports Bash. I'll talk to you then, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.